was always the little kid on the side of the stage, you know, and that went on from maybe from 1, 2, 3, 4 years old. You know, I was always there. Used to play a lot in South Africa and stuff in America, Las Vegas, and in like Nigeria and Lagos when it was a big thing. You know, I mean, she was the 64th fan club member of the Beatles, and she actually played with the Beatles when she was about 16 in Hamburg. And she was at the bottom of the bill, and they were at the top of the bill. So I mean, that was a big influence. Yeah, I suppose it was maybe 15, 16, 17. We used to go to Shake and Finger Pop, which are parties in London, and it would be James Brown and Messiah and the Macs and Lynn Collins and the Jones Girls, and that was that kind of early funky kind of funky drummer era, and I remember that really had a big influence on me. And then after that, I used to, with my friends, we used to play a lot of Rare Groove records upstairs, a lot of compilations coming out then. And that used to be, that was the real thing, and that Rare Groove was really in. You know, that was in a sense, it was before the so-called acid jazz thing. But it was a brief period, it was up to about in the middle of '87. And then from '87, it really started to become the house thing. But at that time, I really rejected house music completely. Well, I started with a guy called Elam, and he was a good friend of mine. We used to go up into he was a Persian guy, and we used to go up into his top attic. He had a top attic, and he had equipment, I mean, I remember when he had a DX21, which has got to be the most difficult and cheesy keyboards ever to work, but we thought it was amazing. It did all sorts of things. It made a helicopter sound, and it had little drum things on it, and that was when and an Akai keyboard as well. That was when Akai keyboards, you maybe got a quarter of a second per key sampling time, and then and that's what you had on there. So we'd go up there and we started to mess around and make music. But when I was 17, obviously the voice kind of started to come around, and we went to a guy called Jack Stephen, and he'd I think he'd been something to do with Virgin at some point, and he kept saying, I just remember this conversation we had him in the big office in London. It was all like, ooh, this is really gonna happen. And he kept saying to this guy, Elam, and Elam wanted to do it himself, but he didn't see any room for vocals, it was absurd to him. And he kept saying, I want to hear this guy sing, I want to hear more of this guy singing, which obviously I think wound him up more than anything else. And anyway, so not a lot came of that, and that petered out. I sat and wrote a tune of my own, When You're Gonna Learn. And I'd got it together in I don't know, 20 minutes. I just happened to get this stuff together. And so I went down to, I met a friend of mine who his name was Tunji Williams, and he used to manage the Brand New Heavies. And I thought, and I remember asking the Brand New Heavies, do you need a singer? And they were like, yeah, whatever. So I was like, okay, cool, I've got to do this on my own. I want a live band. So I thought, I'll tell you what, I'll be cheeky and take a Brand New Heavy sample and stick it on the back of my track. And then went into Eddie Pillar at Acid Jazz in Denmark Street in London. And I said to him, he heard it, he said, where'd you get the sample? I said, Brand New Heavies. They're on this label, aren't they? He said, yeah. I said, well, here it is, do you want to sign it? He said, yeah, okay, I'll give you $5,000 now. I was like, wow, $5,000, now we're talking. I was just like, woo. So anyway, that was that. So I handed the management $1,000 and went out and bought myself a car. I went in and sang my little heart out, nervous as hell in this gig, and there were 3 guys from Sony there. One was a guy called Lincoln Elias, and another guy called Muff Winwood, Stevie Winwood's brother, and who ran Sony then, who's just retired lately. And everybody whispered to me, it must be big because Muff Winwood never comes out of his office for anybody. So I thought, okay, this is all good, this is great, this is going well. But Sony went cold on me. But the publishing thing kept going on. And EMI started to sniff around, and we went over to EMI to try and further ourselves, and we went to a guy called Guy Moot. And I walked upstairs with the When You're Gonna Learn and the lyrics and everything, and the secretary came, we sat in the lobby like you do when you're trying to get a deal for hours, you know, and we sat there, and then the secretary came down, he said, it's very good, and the lyrics made him nearly cry, come back on Monday. So we were like, okay, you know, I thought, well, I don't want to get mucked around here, you know, I want to get in there, get stuck in. Anyway, so I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll go back on Monday with an image, if you like. I thought I'll go back as, you know, this is the package that you get. Here's the logo, here's the thing, this is what it's all about. So then he got interested, then there was a load of kerfuffling, and then I remember for 5 or 6 months there was the constant gnawing of the fingernails. Are we going to get this deal or not? And of course, and we then had this, you know, whole legal problem because we couldn't afford the legal fees. So it was a question of, right, if we strike it lucky, you know, the legal fees will, you know, you'll do it for free now, and we'll pay you later. Anyway, one day, bang, there you go. They decided to rewrite the contract, and now it was a major label contract, not an independent label contract. I.e., the words acid jazz as an independent thing had to be inserted into the contract because it had never been done before. And bang, there you go. So they were on 5 albums. Of course, as soon as they'd come on, then Sony wanted to come on, and then Sony came in with the 8-album deal. To be fair, the first bit of pressure was the first single, Too Young to Die. And that was real pressure because the days of people having, you know, 3-album development deals, like when not in the 80s and stuff, you know, oh, don't worry, your first album didn't work, oh, your second album didn't work, don't worry, have another go. You know, that had all gone out the window. We'd literally got down to 2 singles and you're out, mate. So it had to be a top 20 thing. You know, effectively the chorus had no lyrics. You know, it was like, hello. And it was a high gamble thing, you know, and I sat in the studio for hours, and then I was arguing with the sort of, you know, co-producers, arguing, you know, the voices were like, well, what do you want? So I'll never forget, what the hell do you want then? I said, I don't know, I just want you to push that mid up a bit. You keep going like that, just do a little bit, you know. Anyway, we got through that, and then the scary bit was because doing the first video, you know, I was transported out to Los Angeles on a 5-hour drive into the Mojave Desert. Never done a video, never been in front of a camera. The pressure is a bit more difficult to cope with now. You know, there are targets to reach. But I was very much, you know, I remember the day, because it went 3 weeks, debut #1. And I remember we hung around waiting for this Sunday, you know, this dread Sunday that was going to, chart position, it was all going to be there. And I remember my manager phoning up, and he said it's 35. I said, that's all right, 35. And I knew, though, in my heart, for some reason, and I don't know why, I knew it was #1. I'd never seen anything, but I knew 35 was a lie. He said, that's #1. So I was over, I mean, you can imagine, I was doing somersaults, you know, over the moon. I didn't see it as breaking America in any sense of the word. And I thought with the, I mean, Virtual Insanity, you know, the video was MTV 5 video, you know, 5 awards. It was a Grammy that year. It was like, for me, it was like time to pounce. You know, this is it, take it while it's there. You know, I was the only white guy who'd ever been on black entertainment television, you know, in Atlanta, you know, Quincy Jones's thing. The only, you know, it was a big thing. I'd go out, you know, black people had accepted it. We were doing gigs in Atlanta, 90% black people, 10% white people, you know. It was like it was a thing that they'd grasped it. And everybody was, on the word on everybody's lips was, this is going to go like George Michael, bang, straight through, you know. And then it peaked, I mean, it did 1.8 million albums there, and the album itself did, I think it's 8.2 million albums, which is an enormous amount. America, it seemed to be embraced, but you know, I think it's a massive country, and you know, and at the time as well, I was in some ways I didn't particularly enjoy my time there. I enjoy it a little bit more now. I didn't enjoy it then. Because I felt I'd had so much control over my career and I'd steered it where I wanted it to go, and then I felt that, you know, no matter what I did, they wanted it a different way. You know, videos would get changed. We did a video for Space Cowboy. You know, we can't have the marijuana leaves in the background because, you know, I mean, even you can have gangsters and guns, but you couldn't have that. You know, and I didn't understand it, and it started to really get up my nose. You know, I think what happened in America is, and up to this day, we've got a very underground thing. In a sense, technically, I don't read or write music. You know, I can only, you know, I can fiddle, like a lot of people can fiddle. But I do feel I know how to construct a tune, but I just sometimes feel like I haven't done it right. And I just feel like, I always feel there's something to prove. You know, I feel when you start thinking that you haven't got anything to prove, it's kind of like you shouldn't be doing it. You know, what do you do? Okay, you know, you've proved. And, you know, when you think about the luminaries that you like and how accomplished that stuff is, it's a level beyond what I do. And I always find it, I was doing that. It's just quite, you know, I'm always waiting. And then, of course, there's this, you know, and then, of course, with Dynamite particularly, you know, and the way music is now, you know, this album's been put into Pro Tools, you know. It's been played live, but it's been put into Pro Tools to make everything easier. Gone are the days, you know, where everything was done in one take. You know, you might overdub your strings, you know, put them down to, you know, just, you know, dump them down to a couple of tracks, mixed in, and then throw them on top. But effectively, you know, 16 tracks is a lot of tracks, you know, and at the end of the day, the whole thing had to go on. And I feel music's been watered down until it's just this, you know, it has to be 3 minutes 40. We have to have a, you know, even now I'm editing the next single, Don't Give Hate a Chance, and I find that really, you know, but that's the song, you know. I mean, and if you look at the times of the tracks from the first album, you know, it's 10 minutes 06, 8 minutes 35. You know, where did I get that from? I got that from listening to, you know, Kool and the Gang, you know what I mean? Earth, Wind and Fire, that type of stuff. It was, I always thought an album was a story, and it was a thing. That's why you bought an album. Or you can buy 10 singles. I mean, I don't know whether I get taken seriously, but I don't know perhaps what you have to do in this world to get taken seriously. You know, obviously there are things to be said sometimes. The track world that he wants, you know, it's you know, I'm being serious. You know, I'm not joking, you know. It's like, he knows they're not coming home is one of the lines of the thing, and that's what, you know, I feel that some of the tracks I've written have been fairly prophetic. You know, I feel Virtual Insanity was a fairly prophetic track. I think if you look at the state of things now, you know, that was 10 years ago. I was saying they're going to start cloning people. The song was released on the same day that they made Dolly the Sheep. I find that really weird, you know. You know, and up to now, obviously, there's been a bit of controversy with 7 Days in Sunny June. One of the lines is, "Why do you want to drop that bomb on me?" You know, what can you do? You know, but in terms of wanting to say something, I think. Yeah, I think people. Obviously, you know, this is a media thing, isn't it? This is a tabloid media thing, you know. That people want to pay attention to, you know, what you're wearing, you know, what car you drive, what's it like to be rich and famous, you know. And they don't realise that there are moments when I'm an ordinary, really ordinary person, like really ordinary. You know, I've got a house on little crofter's cottage in Scotland. The fire's going. I put my walking boots on. The dog comes with me. The beach. It's windy. It's cold, but I like it. The phone doesn't work. I go down to the local pub. No one bothers. Locals don't bother me, and that's really, I'm much more that than people think of the sort of Ferrari driving Lavario.